Happy New Year's to all my fellow fantasy fiction fanatics. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season and a great New Year. I really just wanted to thank all of you for being here and subscribing and being a part of my community this past year. I really appreciate everybody who tunes in and watches any of my videos for any length of time. I really truly appreciate every single one of you. And I really want to thank everybody who has subscribed to me and getting me to 400 subscribers. I know that is not that many compared to a lot of other channels, and considering I've been doing this for 4 years now, that is not a very high number, but for me it is amazing, and it really means a lot that you would be willing to subscribe and to watch my content, and that you think it's good enough to keep coming back. So thank you so very much. I hope you guys have a happy New Year's, and I will continue to try my best and give you another year of great content. So I just wanted to thank you and let you know that I truly appreciate you, and I hope this year brings you a lot of happiness and a lot more great fantasy books to read. Let's go ahead and get into the class. Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today's class is going to be another book discussion, and we are going to be moving on to book 3 of the Hidden Legacy series, called Wildfire. So let's go ahead and jump right into our book recap, because I have quite a bit to discuss for this third and final book, at least for Nevada. There are more books in this series, but then we transition over to her sister, Catalina, so this is the last one that is specifically about Nevada. Okay, so in this book, Nevada's grandmother has found her. That's where we start at the very beginning. And then she and her family decide that in order to protect themselves against her, they are going to become their own house. Nevada ends up taking on a case from Rinda, who is Rogan's ex-fiance, and her husband, Rinda's husband, is missing, and she is asking Nevada to help find her because she knows that it is not him just going away. He is truly in danger, been kidnapped, or something. Something has happened to him. So her and Rogan both start investigating. They are doing this together, obviously, since Rinda does have a connection to Rogan. And they end up investigating like any other case until it becomes a ransom. And the ransom people who have supposedly kidnapped her husband are asking for something that was Rinda's mother's. She doesn't know what it is. They don't apparently seem to know what it is. They just say that they want whatever it was that she had. Rinda and the kids are then attacked shortly afterwards by Vincent Harcourt, and they are almost killed. Edward, who is her husband's brother, is almost killed, and Nevada and Cornelius end up saving them. Then, shortly afterward, they storm the Harcourt family. They completely take down all of their defenses and counter all of their magical attacks in order to ask them where Vincent is. And they tell her that he is with Alexander Stroom. So Vincent is supposed to be with Alexander Stroom and helping him out, according to Vincent's parents. Shortly after this, they receive a severed ear that is supposed to be Brian's, which is Rinda's husband. And something doesn't sit quite right with Nevada, so she continues to investigate and finds out that it is not actually Brian's ear, and that means that Brian is in on his own kidnapping. So he is not truly in danger, and he has not truly been kidnapped or have his ear severed. So Nevada is continuing to look for and trying to figure out what it is they exactly want, since they have tried to up the ante by giving them this ear that they obviously found out was not really Brian's. And she ends up cracking it with Byrne, the help of her cousin Byrne, and finding this crucial piece of evidence. As such, she ends up being attacked by Vincent pretty much right afterwards. She's on her way, and Vincent attacks her, but she and Rogan and her family end up overpowering him and capturing him. She then goes ahead and uses all of her skills, all of her magic, in order to break this wall, this protective wall that was made in his mind, to shelter the whole operation that was given to him by Victoria Tremaine, her grandmother. But she breaks it. She figures out how to destroy it, make it crumble down, and gets the answers that she wants. So they go ahead and find out that Alexander is trying to make this giant hurricane tornado that's going to rip through all of the city and destroy everything. So they must stop him before that happens. So Rogan, Nevada, and her family go and storm Strum's house or compound, whatever you want to call it. They've got guards, everything like that, but they storm the place. They end up going ahead and stopping him just in time. He was just about to release the tornado. It was being built, and they ended up stopping him just in time to save the city once again. And recover Brian as well, even though his brother does kill him pretty much right afterward for all of the trouble he put through to his brother as well as to his wife and children. And we end with Nevada and her family officially taking the test in order to become a house, and they are qualified right after the trials and are officially made into House Baylor. Okay, so those of course are just the highlights of the book. Super, super amazing story. I really love this trilogy. Of course there is more afterward, but I really love this particular set of 3, focusing on Nevada and really developing who she is, who her family is, and what this world is like. So let's go ahead and talk about how the character development of Nevada goes. Because Nevada is our main character, we obviously see from her point of view because it is first person point of view, and we see a lot of how she is developing, how she's becoming a brand new person, all that kind of stuff we have seen in book 1, book 2, and now we finally see the conclusion of who she has become here in book 3. She is now fully embraced in her prime magic. She truly is feeling that she can be confident and step up and be a prime and really make prime decisions. Even though before she did not consider herself a prime, now we see that her magic and her magic has kind of settled inside her, and she is 100% ready to run full speed ahead, knowing that she is a prime, being confident and having to live the life that primes do, even though it is a harsh one that she would rather not be in. But her confidence is 100% boosted. However, she doesn't forget that she cares about her family first and foremost. That has been the forefront of most of her decisions, is caring about her family or caring about others. So she takes on Rinda's case, even though, you know, most people are like, don't take it, you're crazy, why are you helping out his ex-fiance, like, this is nuts, she's trying to steal back your man. And in many ways she was, but Nevada doesn't care about that. She's like, I'm going to step up to the plate, I'm going to do this because that's what's right, and she needs help. So she still carries the very core of her being, which is most important. So even though she is fully embracing her prime self and kind of learning the ways that primes do things, she has not lost herself or lost, you know, the compassion that she has. And like I said, she helps out Rinda even though, you know, everyone tells her not to, and she doesn't even really totally want to, but she knows that there's nowhere else for her to go, so she keeps this compassion, she keeps being herself, even though she has stepped up to the plate and understands that she has to do more than she would like to at times, and to be in this tough position and make those hard decisions. Even now, she's got a mastery of being Prime, and the harshness that comes with this, as well as the compassion that most Primes do not have. So I think she is truly an amazing character. She's always been strong-willed. Now she's just strong-willed in a position that she understands the rules of now. And she's going to make decisions differently than most Primes would, just because she still feels that compassion and that caring for people, and she has that humble beginning. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Rogan. Now, I feel like Rogan is kind of like the mirror opposite or whatever of Nevada, in the fact that we see her becoming harder and stronger and more of a Prime, and really embracing what she has to in order to survive and to handle these situations. And then we see Rogan softening. Like, we really see him melting and becoming his inner Connor. His love for Nevada has really softened him and made him look at the world differently. So we see him laugh. We see him caring for others. Like, I mean, we saw that back in number 2, and realized that he is truly a human being with feelings and caring about people. But we see it even more now that he is fully with Nevada. We see how much he has this soft, gooey center and can laugh and be carefree at times, especially with Nevada. He is very carefree when it's just the two of them and he doesn't have to be a Prime. He's very playful with Nevada, as well as you can see the closeness that he has with his employees, and how he treats them as their family. He's also very a little bit softer towards her family, because obviously he wants to be a part of her life and knows how much her family means to her. So we see him becoming more soft and gooey, while Nevada is becoming harder and stronger. So we see him step a little bit away from that Prime, and it's very interesting because, you know, obviously Nevada calls Rogan Connor when it's just the two of them, or when they're in a soft moment. So that's why I feel like he's really bringing forth his Connor self, his feelings as that are internal ones that he does not show the rest of the world. And Nevada is slowly softening him into being a little bit more of the Connor that he used to be. But on the other hand, he is still Rogan. So we still see the times where he is hard, unyielding, absolutely like, this is the way things are. We really see his overprotectiveness, especially of Nevada when she's doing things on her own and he cannot help her, how pent up he gets, how worried he gets. He wants to be very controlling of the environment and very controlling of the people around him, and when it is in dangerous situations. So we see the part that we were shown originally, where he's very controlling, very dominant, very hard, very much mean in a way, and gruff. And then from book 2, we slowly see him start to melt into see him become softer, more human, and then now we really see him very soft and mushy, that gooey center that he has inside him that also has that controlling craziness to him when he really needs to pull it out. So I feel like Rogan has really changed from book 1. So we have Nevada, and she has a growth pattern, but Rogan has a complete change in the viewpoint from the reader's perspective from book 1. Book 2 really brings out that he is not just what you think he is, which is someone who's just okay with killing people. And now we actually see him when he can be soft and warm and caring and be someone that you would want to have in your life always. You can really see that inner self that is not all about killing and murdering and whatever else. And now let's talk about how the development of the Baylor family has been, as well as Cornelius, because Cornelius in this one is now fully fledged character that is very important. That's also part of the Baylor, what is the word I'm looking for? Business. I don't know why it took me so long to think about that word. Like, come on, guys. Obviously, my brain is still not working from the holidays. But first things I want to mention about the Baylor family is Victoria Tremaine. And I just want to mention her not because we have any growth from her, but she just is now a part of the family. Like, they find out that she's their grandmother and now she's actually in the picture. And mostly what she brings to this whole thing, obviously, is to push them to become a house, first of all. But second of all, is just to find out where all these powers come from. So we find out that Catalina's Catalina's magic, if I can think today, Catalina's magic comes from her grandfather. So we see now, like, okay, it's kind of a similar concept of the love angle and the truth seeker, in the fact that they're both kind of mental-ish, kind of the same kind of vein, and they mention that it's kind of similar enough kind of magic that they could see how it's related. But now we truly see that it comes from family lineage. And then we find out that Arabella's magic, which is completely different and is shape-shifting, actually comes from the way that she was born, or the way her dad, not her, the way her dad was born, by being in the previous monsters, being the child bearer, the surrogate mother. So it's definitely very, very, very interesting to see that this magic that now seemed kind of odd combination now has a reason for being what it is. That we can see why each magic was given to each child. And we also have that background of knowing exactly what Nevada's dad went through that made it so he got to the point that he was at, and why her mother, is so afraid of Victoria. Whew, I'm sorry, guys. I feel like I haven't filmed for a couple weeks and now I'm just like, my brain just doesn't work. So forgive me and please bear with me as I continue talking about this book. Next, let's talk about Leon. Oh my gosh, I love Leon. And I'm so happy that he finally knows what his magic is. It's like the whole time I'm just like, tell him, I want him to know, because he's always so sad that he didn't have any magical powers, and for me that breaks my heart for him. But now Leon is fully aware of his magic and has been able to start using it. He understands why he never thought that he had magic before, because he's not playing with guns all the time until recently, and I think that it's really funny that he goes through this traumatic experience of killing his first people and like having to protect Nevada, and he's like really torn up about it. And then he talks to the Rogan's guy, who is very good about working through people who have PTSD and for telling them the right words to make sure that they can forgive themselves, and kind of that therapy side. And then he decides, I'm going to be the assassin for House Baylor. Like, it's so Leon. But it's also hilarious because then Nevada's like, I'm going to kill somebody for making my cousin want to be an assassin. I don't know if he truly wants to be an assassin, but it is super funny, and it is very Leon, in my opinion. That definitely does not seem out of the blue for him, especially since he loves guns so much. Of course, that was from his magic, but just his personality and how he talks about it definitely made this seem like something that would happen to me. And he really steps up to the plate, though. He really, truly steps up to the plate. Even before he knew about his magic, he was excited to go in and help his family. He really steps up and is mature about it, follows directions when he needs to, even though he might not always want to. So Leon really becomes his own and really develops, because in book 1 we didn't know really much about Leon at all. We didn't know much about Leon, Catalina, Arabella. The focus was not there. But now we have the focus on the family as a whole, and we are slowly but surely having everything brought into the light, and to have them be really full, deep characters that are close to Nevada and important to Nevada, and have their own role in this new house that they have made together. next, let's talk about Nevada's mom. So, I'm a little disappointed in Nevada's mom, a little tiny bit, especially considering book 2, she always had Nevada's back. She didn't even think to try and steer her away from Rogan, nothing like that. She was very, very compassionate, very, very helpful, wanting to protect Nevada, but also understanding that her daughter is her own person and is going to do what needs to be done for herself. And then we get to this book where she is just completely against the house idea. She wants to run, she wants to hide, she feels like they're going to be in danger. She's completely against Nevada every step of the way throughout the beginning of this book. And finally Nevada has to be like, Mom, you have to help me. This is what I'm trying to do to protect our family, and you are hurting all these efforts. And really had to kind of make her point in order to get her to be back on board. But, you know, old habits die hard, as they say, and she was worried about her kids, and her running before was what was working for her, so I kind of understand. But it does make me a little disappointed that she was not completely on board especially once the rest of the family was on board. She kind of blamed Nevada for making things the way that they were, even though it wasn't really Nevada's fault. It's also a game changer for me for the fact that she knew about Leon's powers for a lot longer than Nevada did, and she withheld it. She was trying to protect Leon by not telling him about his powers and not letting him use them, because as they've talked about, is that when you don't use magic that is a part of you, it's detrimental to you and your soul in a way, because you are not fully living as yourself. You're holding back a piece of you that is essential and important. So I feel a little bit let down with her on that as well. She should have been more upfront and just been trying to keep him safe by stressing the importance of keeping his magic on the down low, like they did with Nevada and with Arabella and with Catalina. But instead they just completely hid it from him and tried to make it so he couldn't even use it. So a little disappointed on his mom's side as well. Nevada does hide it for a short time, but at least she was always planning on telling him. It was just when the moment was right to do so. So definitely see that she's kind of taken a step back in her willingness to be agreeable, which is not bad per se. It just is a little sad that Nevada and Leon had to have these deterrents with her mom. Okay, we're getting through these families. There's a lot of family members. Gotta get through each and every one of them. Arabella is someone who we still have, I feel like, the least amount of knowledge about, the least amount of time focused on her. That doesn't mean that she's not a good character. She's an excellent character, but we just see her a little bit less time, and I wish we had gotten a little bit more time with her. But we finally do get to see her powers in effect, really get to see her moving and doing her thing. We see her during her trial and what she can do with, even while being the monster that she becomes when she transforms. And we finally understand what her power is at all, because even in book 2 they were kind of just hinting at it. They finally fully tell us, finally truly get to see who she is and why she is so adamant about wanting to be, you know, sharing her powers, because she has to keep them so well hidden, even more than Catalina, because people do get locked up for being ones that can shift into monsters. So I can kind of understand why she also has to hide her powers and wants to, again, also be at the forefront a little bit more. Alright, last but not least, let's talk about Cornelius, because Cornelius is kind of part of the family a little bit now. He is part of the business, and he truly has become his own full-fledged character here. We saw him a little bit in book 1. Book 2, we actually have him as a client, and we see him kind of helping do with like world developing, and him as a character has been more prominent, but then now he is fully a full character. We know him really well, and we see who he is and how he has transitioned from where he was in book 1 to where he is now. And he is really stepping up to his role at the company. Like, seriously, he really steps up there. He is all in on the investigation. He asks to be a part of it. He does his part. He doesn't even let Nevada go into the house when Vincent is attacking the kids by herself, even though he has no idea how to do a gun. He has no self-defense training. He has never done anything like this. But he goes in there and he is determined to be backup for Nevada. Not only that, but then he's awesome because as a mage who deals with animals, he converts an alien monster thing that's from another world that has been conjured up and creates a bond to truly make the animal his, which is unheard of and unknowable. And he's not a prime, really. He's a little bit lower. Not that he's weak, but he's not a prime. And he has done this and used it to save Nevada's life. And of course his own daughters later in the story and such. But still, so amazing that that he has stepped up and grown into this more confident person, that he really enjoys actually working for Baylor Investigations and working with the family, with Rogan, everything else like that. He truly steps up to the plate and flourishes. He really has found his calling in many ways in this situation, and has flourished, especially considering he lost his wife not that long ago. Very, very brave. We really see him stepping into the light as being this brave, confident person. And so I feel like I should have some more to say about him, but really that's the forefront of it all, is that he steps up, he is flourishing, he is happy, he is doing amazing work, and he is a very great addition to Baylor Investigations, and also doing great for himself, which is really nice after he had such a hard time in the previous book. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Rogan and Nevada's relationship. So obviously that's been a pretty big aspect of this series. We started off a little rocky, but since book 2 especially, it's a large focus as a subplot to the bigger plot that they are solving together. And right now they are completely smitten with each other. Completely smitten. Really, really happy together. Very happy that she decided to say yes on Nevada's side. Obviously Rogan is very territorial of her. He wants all of her time, wants her to sleep in his bed always, like very much. We can see that both of them are very much protective of each other and very, very happy in the relationship that they have chosen to now be in. And we even see them then at towards the end becoming engaged. So Rogan was going to wait till after the trials, but his hand was turned in early by Rinda. He was caught talking to her about saying that he was going to propose, so he ends up proposing early, and she of course says yes. So they have become very, very serious, even though it's only been a couple of months that they've been together, or that they've even known each other. But they get serious very, very quickly and are now officially engaged. So we go from, the very first meeting where he ends up like kidnapping her and like trying to torture her in the basement so he can get information out of her, to them falling in love and her being exactly what he needs, to now being engaged. And he even underestimates her and her love for him by thinking that she's not going to tell during the trials that she is engaged to him, and she blows him out of the water. He's literally shocked that she goes ahead and tells everybody, I'm engaged to Rogan, and that she's in love with him. So that is something that he expresses to her, that that's going to completely tie her to him forever, even if she decides he's not the one in the end. But she's like, we already know that that's not going to be the case. I'm marrying you and you're the one. I'm a one and done kind of girl. So let's just make that claim now. So I really love that he's so shocked by it. And she just looks at him and is like, oh, you silly man, you think I'm not going to do this. So there is that sweetness and that finality to it, that really true love, and this is it. This is this is going to be the relationship that they have for the rest of their life, and then it's going to be strong. So she officially ties herself to him, and he of course accepts that tie, and it's very, very nice ending, especially because he's like, okay, I want you to now meet my mom, which is so funny that you don't even know that his mom is like a thing, meaning like in his life, or that he has a relationship with her at all until this end, and then he's like, let's go meet my family. But it also shows how serious he is that he is presenting her to his mom. Okay, so I think that's it on Nevada and Rogan's relationship. It's pretty simple. They are head over heels for each other, and even though they still have some tiffs and Nevada is like, I'm not gonna let you push me around, they are definitely a good fit for each other. She balances them out somewhat. And last but not least, I'd like to talk about the world building. So we actually build quite a lot in the first book, and we have a lot of that kind of confirmed and just flourishing in the second one. But this one we have a little bit of some new information. Not that the houses are new, but we've never understood or seen firsthand what the house trials are like and what it's like to become a house. And in this particular book, we do see that. We see that there are rules for those that are becoming a house that all houses must follow, and it's extremely, extremely strict. Like, if you try and toe the line, they will come and kill you. That is how strict it is. They have to have witnesses. They have to have somebody who's going to guide the new house head. They have to make sure that they protect the house for the 3 years until they are fully established and can be a house standing on their own. They're even making ties for themselves by having somebody who's going to nurture that house. That's a tie that's never going to be broken. The witnesses are ties that are never going to be broken, at least not very lightly in the future. So it's very important for them to choose the right person to make those bonds with for this new house. They have the ability to have a public trial or a closed trial, where you can either have people come and see the trials, or you can make it where you don't even present to the world what the powers are, because Arabella and Catalina are both like off the listing. They are registered as primes, but what their power is not public knowledge. Only Nevada's is. And so they obviously had a closed trial because they did not want certain powers to get out. So that's really interesting too, is that they have that option. It's not just like it's public record. They have the different things that are choices that a house can make to protect itself or not. And we'll see if in the end they end up revealing their powers as times goes by, but it's very possible that they won't, and that forever Catalina and Arabella's powers are going to be contained only on a need-to-know basis. We learn that there are DNA companies. There are companies that take your DNA as a house, that they safeguard them to killing anybody who tries to steal them. They are completely and utterly uncorruptible. People are not going to just give out information for no reason. They have to have only the express house's permission, which, you know, we do have the DNA and medical things like that. That's really protected, obviously, in our own lives now. But this is like an extreme, like, we'll murder anybody who tries to take this information kind of deal. So it's definitely a huge deal in this world, and the way that they handle it. They track DNA, they interact with other DNAs that are, you know, could be compatible, and that DNA is like such a big important part, which is why Rogan is of course worried about, you know, Nevada wanting her kids to have powers, and they both say that they don't, but then he worries that, oh, in the end it will matter. Because DNA and bloodline and magic is very important in this world for houses specifically. And we really see that up front with how serious the companies that have this information protect it and deal with it. And just last but not least, it's more like a personal observation. Maybe you think I'm right, maybe you think I'm wrong. I'd love to hear, of course, your opinions on it. But for a world that has magic in it, it certainly doesn't seem like this world is any better than our own. It actually seems like it's worse. Obviously, if you're not a house, it's a little bit different. But even just having these houses in the world, having to have that societal pressure in houses, kind of like, I mean, I understand it's kind of like the rich people versus like regular people versus poor people, like, you know, that kind of mind frame. But there is such a big difference between being a house and being somebody who's not a house. And Nevada has now been on both sides of the coin and understands both sides of being, you know, just a regular person not wanting to have anything to do with houses, and then seeing how the houses live this extra life that is so hard. It is so dangerous. It is so harsh. It is unforgiving. It is full of just drama and politics and being harsh, because that's all that they can do to protect themselves. So very, very interesting to see the conflicts on both sides of this world, and to see that they have a lot of their own struggles, even though they have magic and even though they have powers. And it's like most people, not everybody, but a lot of people do have powers and magical abilities, and it still makes this world a harsh place, an even harsher place than ours at times. So I just find it very, very interesting, and that's part of why I like this series, is because the world building shows that magic doesn't fix everything, and in fact it obviously causes problems just as much as it helps fix things when you can use your magic to do certain things. So that is all that I had for talking about this book today. Hopefully you enjoyed my discussion of it, and that you enjoyed what I presented. Please, as always, let me know if you want to chat about it, if you have any opinions, any comments, questions, concerns. Of course, you can let me know, and I'd be happy to have a discussion with you. Before we wrap up, let's just go ahead really quick over the trivia question. Last couple weeks, since it's been a little while since I've updated it, thank you to everyone who participated and played. I asked a Belgariad-based question for those who know that series, about which animal Polgara, geez, if I can say her name, prefers, what animal form she prefers to be in, and it is the owl. She can be a wolf at times, but she really loves being an owl the most, and is often turns into an owl versus anything else. Congratulations to Landon, Roast Beef, and Dan for getting the question right. And thank you to everyone who participated and played with me. I really appreciate it and have a lot of fun playing with you. If you would like to join the trivia question, or at least check it out and see if you'd like to answer, you can go over to the blog, fantasyfictionfanatics.net. It will be on the right-hand side. If you scroll down just a little bit, you should see it there if you are on desktop. And of course, right below it, it does say last week's answers. So if you need to check whether you got it right or not, you can check there. If you are on mobile, you'll have to scroll almost all the way down to see the question as well as last week's answer. But you'll be able to see it there and answer it. Also, while you're over there checking it out, you're welcome to check out anything else on my blog. I've got book reviews written out, I've got book recommendations, I've got different topics that I discuss, what my thoughts are on them for either fantasy or reading in general. I've got a list that I just recommended up on there this past week about what my favorite 2021 released books were. So if you're looking for something new that is a new release, go ahead and check out that. Oops, sorry about this, guys. Go ahead and check that out over there. Also, if you want to check out my writing tips over there, that's on there. I've got some more personal based posts over there, so go ahead and check it out if you want more content from me, and let me know if you want me to post any content specific over there. If commenting down below is not the best place for you and you want to get a hold of me and chat with me, you can also find me at Twitter at fantasyfiction1. You can also go over to Facebook, which is /fantasyfiction1. Both of those places I do also upload recent blog posts and the most recent videos, so you can find out what's going on. I post updates if I can't get anything out. So you're welcome to follow me there and know everything that's going on with the channel and with the content. Also, you can find all of this information at the same time as chat with me, as well as your fellow fantasy fiction fanatics over on the community Discord. The link is down below if you'd like to join. We've already got 40 people over there chatting, having a good time, enjoying discussing fantasy fiction together and lots of other topics too. Not just the fantasy reading, but we also have music, movies, recommending books to each other, talking about fantasy in general, talking about different things that are on this channel. Lots of different stuff for you to explore and chat about with your fellow fanatics. So if that sounds like fun to talk to me as well as your fellows over there, as well as getting all the updates, go ahead and join us there. We would love to have you and to hear all about your own fantasy adventures. All right. I think that is it for me today on this discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next class. Bye.